welcome to this webinar. I'm going to give you a few slides, an overview of the MSc Geophysics here at the University of Aberdeen. And if at any point during this presentation you'd like to submit a question, there's a Q&A option, and we'll go through the questions at the end of the few slides I'm going to show you. My name is Dave Cornwell. I'm the MSc Geophysics Director. And together with a number of other staff, we deliver the MSc Geophysics program. We're very proud of our program. We love what we do, and we would very much like you to join us and join the legacy of geophysicists that we've trained over the last 10 years for MSc Geophysics. Just a few highlights on the slide that's in front of you. The University of Aberdeen Geology Department is currently ranked #1 for student satisfaction in the UK. As I said, we've been doing this for 10 years for MSc Geophysics, which has been great. We've really enjoyed it. From an affordability perspective, the Aberdeen city, a very nice, accessible and manageable city, is ranked the most affordable UK city at the moment for students. And we've been able to reduce our tuition fees for both UK and international students from last year to this year, to better reflect affordability of the program. And so the UK fees are 11,900 currently, and the international fees and EU fees are 26,250. And everything that I'll be telling you, plus a whole lot more information, is accessible by our MSc Geophysics website, and the link there, and I'll put it up at the end. There's much more information, including how to apply, you can find via that link. Okay, so moving on to some key aspects of the program. Let's try and advance my slides. There we go. So that's me. So before we talk of the program, what about the university? Well, the University of Aberdeen is an ancient university. It was founded in 1495, and therefore it makes it the third oldest university, and the fifth in Scotland, and the fifth oldest university in the UK. We've got approximately 14,000 students and about 3,500 staff, and about 130 nationalities represented across the university. I doubt that you'll be the first person from your country or from possibly even your town that's attended the University of Aberdeen. So the School of Geosciences, which hosts the MSc in Geophysics, includes departments of Geology and Geophysics, Geography and Archaeology. And across all of those areas, we do a lot of high impact research, interdisciplinary research. And the MSc Geophysics is not our only MSc program. We have around 8 different MSc programs in our school, but obviously across the university we have many, many more MSc programs. So in terms of the MSc Geophysics, so far we've had 94 students join us over 10 years. So the class size, as you can see, is around 8 to 10 every year. We'd like to grow that, but we wouldn't like to grow it so that it's 30, 40, 50 students. We feel that a class size of about 10 to 15 students works really well for us. Of those, 27 have come from the UK, 67 have been from any other country that's not the UK. And as you can see there, around about 90% of our graduates we're still in touch with, and we know that they're employed or undertaking PhDs. And the pie chart on the right-hand side shows you what types of careers that they've gone on to. And the vast majority have gone into a geophysics industry career, whether that be a service career with a multinational energy company, with lots of different industries that have been represented in geophysics, near surface geophysics, civil engineering, that kind of thing. We've had some people go into government careers, government advisory roles. A lot of people have gone on to do PhDs, geophysics research, both here. We've had a number of MSc students stay here to do a PhD, but in lots of different countries as well. We've had some people go on to be lecturers, and then quite a few go on to non-geoscience roles, so digital technology, aerospace. We've had people, satellite technology, that kind of thing. And the others, the 10% that didn't get jobs, are just the 10% that we're not in contact with and didn't reply to our emails. So they may be working as well, but they haven't let us know. So we've got a very high employability rate with the MSc, and which we expect to continue. And actually, there was a recent survey in the UK that said that Aberdeen degrees were represented most amongst energy employees in the UK. So most people working in the energy sector in the UK had degrees from our university, which is very encouraging. So just to represent the countries that we've had on our MSc so far, we have 27 different countries, but we hope to, obviously to fill this map up in the years to come. Okay, as well as students on an MSc Geophysics, we have a lot of support from industry, from experts, and from software providers and so on. So this is a slide that I normally talk to people that come on and support our course, as well as us lecturers. And we have an advisory board where we have about 8 members of the industry who tell us what they'd like us to teach. We have summer projects, which I'll talk about a bit later, which people co-mentor. We've had CV recruitment interview assessment days to help you develop your CV and your interview technique. In the last 2 years, we've been on to seismic vessels that come into Aberdeen Harbour to have a look around. Went on a nodal vessel, seismic node vessel last year, which was really interesting. We've had technical seminars, mentorship, company office visits. We have a lot of software provided by companies. People come in, experts come in to teach anything from a half an hour session to a few days sessions. At the end of the MSc, there's a summer project presentation day or symposium, and we have typically up to 50 people come to see that. A lot of companies will give us scholarships or part scholarships. And obviously, the most important bit after the MSc is that these are the companies that are hiring our students. So I hope you can see it's not just 5 or 6 lecturers here at the university that have been delivering this MSc. It's a whole community effort that are brought into delivering this MSc and whatever's beyond it. So there's a lot of external contributions to what we do. We do go on fieldwork as part of the MSc. So here's a list of some of the places we've been. We've been to Italy, we've been to lots of different places around the UK and Germany. But our philosophy really is that if you've never been to Scotland, there's a huge number of amazing places in Scotland to go to and to do geophysics in. And so we like the idea of exploring Scotland first and being able to do geophysics in Scotland, because actually, frankly, we don't need to go anywhere else because it's the best place in the world to do geophysics here. So we were in the Shetland Islands a couple of months ago, and that was spectacular. We took the ferry overnight to go and survey various different aspects of the Shetland Islands. We've been in Northern Ireland quite a lot of time to look at various aspects there. And in the future, we're planning lots more field work, both in the UK and overseas plans as well. So definitely a lot of field work. We also get asked by a lot of people in and around Aberdeen to do bits of field work for them. So we've been lots of different places for a day here or a day there, and acquiring various bits of data. So last year I took the MSc students to a castle where they were surveying whether there was granite underneath the castle, for instance. And we all went and did some field work at the castle. Okay, so what will you study? So these are the current MSc Geophysics modules, and this is a lot of things on this slide, so I'll explain what this means. So at the moment, we have 3 different geophysics pathways, and a pathway is just offering you choice as a student coming into the MSc in terms of what modules you would like to study. So we had a geophysics MSc for many, many years, and then last year we launched an energy resources geophysics pathway, which is number 2 on this slide, which sits alongside our main geophysics pathway. And as you can see from the modules which are listed, so HS1 is the first session, that's between September and December, and then HS2 is between January and around April, and HSC3 is the summer months when you'll do your projects. So we have a geophysics pathway, we have an energy resources geophysics pathway, which lends some of the modules from different MSc programs. And then this year, we're starting an environmental sustainability geophysics pathway. And some of the modules that you can see there are common with the other geophysics pathways. and some of them are taught in different parts of the university. So I'll go through each one of these modules quickly and then explain what they are. The one on the right-hand side that I didn't mention is the planetary geophysics pathway. So we're not going to start that this year, but we're going to postpone it to 2026. And that's going to start September 2026. So for our geophysics pathway, we cover borehole and petrophysics. And then after that, there's an earth physics structure and processes module to give you a wide variety of the different geophysics methods and how the earth works from a physics point of view. Then we have a near surface and environmental geophysics module, which covers nearly every aspect of geophysical technique, but from the perspective of if you were standing in a field with the equipment, what would you need to do to collect reliable and effective geophysical data and interpret it? So how do we acquire data, interpret it, and apply them to environmental problems? Then we'd have a skill builder module, we call it. So time series and inverse theory, two really important parts of nearly every aspect of geophysics. So time series, looking at Fourier transforms, looking at filtering, that kind of thing. And inverse theory, how do you go from your data to your geological model? Moving down, so after Christmas break, there is a seismology and earth imaging module, which I am the module leader for, which we look at earthquakes, we look at imaging the earth from a regional to global scale, and lots of different aspects of seismology. There's a geothermal flow module, which is taught by experts in geothermal fractures and various permeability aspects, various engineering aspects of geothermal energy for the energy resources pathway. And then we've got a seismic reflection acquisition and processing module. Again, this is taking industry standard software and taking a 2D and a 3D seismic line, a cube, and processing it from raw data all the way up to a fully pre-stack migrated stack section. So taking a full hands-on approach where each student will get their own license to play around with the software themselves. Moving on, we've got a machine learning in geophysics module, which is really popular. We introduced this a few years ago, and Heracles, my colleague who teaches this, basically will tell you in the first half of the module everything you need to know from a machine learning perspective. And then for the second half of the module, we'll teach you how to apply that in different settings. So things like automatic interpretation of borehole, auto picking in seismic, even applying machine learning to looking at lunar landing sites on the moon, to looking at crater recognition, or a whole host of different things we can use machine learning to do. And on the other side, with the energy resources, we're looking at subsurface storage and sequestration. So that's carbon capture, looking at putting things back into the subsurface and how that can be mitigated and what roles geophysics plays in that. And then a final module, which is basically a fieldwork module. So 5573 is written there, field geophysical data acquisition and digital subsurface mapping. So the training you'll get will be in GIS and seismic interpretation. And then after that, you will be able to design and risk and the health and safety aspects of fieldwork. And then we'll go on the fieldwork, acquire data, process the data, and present the data to an audience on the fieldwork. And then you'll write a report about that. So that's the fieldwork aspect. And then after that, once you've passed all of those modules, you'll go on to do an MSc Geophysics project, which is about 4 months long. And that can be on any aspect of the course or any aspect of something you'd like to do. You can bring your own data, you can bring your own ideas, or we can offer you some project ideas, or we can come to an agreement about what you'd like to do. And really, the sky's the limit in terms of the projects. And I'll give you some examples of the types of projects we've done. There's a couple of modules I didn't mention for the environmental sustainability pathways. In the first half session, we've got an introduction to GIS. So in other words, looking at mapping GIS tools. We've got a land remediation, which is taught by our soil sciences group, looking at how geophysics plays into looking after soil science and remediation of polluted land. And we've got a remote sensing and drone and monitoring module, which looks at all those different aspects in that. So that's the anatomy of the MSc. You can choose whichever pathway you like before you arrive. If you arrive and change your mind, you can swap. It's even possible within the timetable limits to swap certain modules. So last year, two of the energy resources geophysics students chose to do machine learning rather than the subsurface because they preferred that was what they wanted to do for a job. So that's fine. As long as it's within the limits of the timetable, then we can accommodate that. If there's any questions about that or any aspect of any of these, then either put them in the chat, or if not, the full module descriptions you can access via the link in the website. So project titles. So this is an overview of all the titles that we've had in the last 10 years of projects. And so you can see there's some common themes in there. We've got field data, modeling, seismic analysis, velocity, a whole host of different aspects. And we've done projects in companies where people have gone and sat in the company and done a project. We've done projects where people have done internships, where they've gone on a paid internship somewhere in the world and done a project as part of that. Or you could do a project here in our lab to be able to work on some data that you're interested in. We've had coding projects, we've had processing projects, interpretation projects, and anything. And this year we have an outreach project where we're focusing on geophysical outreach. So yeah, a whole host of different aspects of geophysics covered in our projects. And as I mentioned, not necessarily for you guys coming in September, or maybe some of you thinking about coming in the following year. So we do geophysics, have done for just over 10 years. Our energy resources geophysics pathway started last year. The environmental sustainability geophysics is starting this year as well. Planetary physics, as I said, will be starting next year. But we also have computer science geophysics, more AI focused geophysics, and then engineer or archaeological geophysics starting. So what we're trying to do is to build a portfolio of geophysics facing pathways to our program that will allow people to choose the core modules that we teach, but then expand on them and apply them in different areas. And the most important thing, as it says there, that we're here to train and inspire the next generations of geophysicists. And from an employability perspective, I send out every couple of months via our LinkedIn page jobs in the UK. And normally there's about 40 or 50 jobs available in the UK in terms of for geophysicists. So globally, that's expanded massively. So I know that there's a huge thirst for geophysics jobs across the globe. I can't list all the different types of geophysics things that you'll be doing, but in the past we've had people go from utility surveying in London. We've had people looking carbon sequestration. We've had other people who are leading subsurface surveying teams. We've had PhD students looking at volcano seismology and a whole host of different things. So really what we see our MSCs as is topping up the areas of your education you've already had, filling in any gaps, and then giving you that springboard to go and do whatever you want to do with it next. And on that note, I mentioned the LinkedIn page. So if you're not doing it already, I would strongly suggest following or our MSc in Geophysics LinkedIn page. We post things on there every week or every 2 weeks, and there you'll see the types of things that we're doing week to week. We're building our followers. Actually, this is out of date. We're over 2,000 followers now, which is great. And last week we had a visit from people from MATLAB, from MathWorks. And so we were posting that they came and visit, and we were talking about how to speed up our code and things like that. So everything that we're doing, we're posting snippets on here. So if you want to follow us, if you're thinking of coming in September and seeing how the students are doing on their projects over this summer and getting a flavor of what we do, then follow along here. And if you need to send any questions via that, then please send them, and one of us will pick that up. Okay, so that's all I really wanted to talk about. We've been going for 10 years. We think we developed our MSCs into a really exciting training opportunity for anybody that wants to come. We welcome everybody from whatever background you have. We've had people from physics, we've had people from maths, we've had people from geology, we've had a biologist come and do our MSc. As long as you have our prerequisites, then we'll welcome you on the course. We don't expect you to know how to do everything on the course when you arrive. That's what we're here to help you through. But you will develop course geophysics and machine learning skills. You'll be mentored through the whole program. And overall, we'll set you up for whatever you want to do next. And yeah, we hope that you'll use it and tell us after you've left us at the end of the MSc what you're doing, so we can it brings joy to us seeing people going out to do what they want to do. So yes, that's the reason we do it. And so we hope you join us. And if there's any questions, look at the website, or I'm happy to take any questions now. Thank you very much. First question, is the program suitable for someone who wants to earn their masters after working? A bit worried about the idea of returning to uni after being away. Yeah, that's a common worry. We've had quite a few students that have come back after working. That's entirely fine. So we this year, I think 2 students have come back after working, and it's quite a steep learning curve for everybody coming back to doing a master's. And particularly if you're from a country that's not in the UK or not studied in Scotland, even, it's a bit of a steep learning curve to start with. But we're used to that. For people coming back, it's I think the workload is quite high, but your ability, your skills that you already have, you probably underestimate how useful they are in the academic setting. And actually, if I was to design an MSc course, a group, I would definitely have 1 or 2 students coming back from industry in that group, alongside a breadth of other experiences, because it does bring a certain professionalism to the group. So I would very much welcome people coming back from industry, because you'll bring a professionalism to the rest of the group that, frankly, that they will learn from you going forwards as well. So I hope that answers your question. So thank you very much for that one. Next question, are there extra costs for the fieldwork, or are these trips included in tuition? That's a good question. I didn't cover that. So there are no extra costs for any of the fieldwork or anything else after you arrive. The only thing you might have to pay for is clothing. We hope that you'll be clothed at our field trips. So you might have to bring some wet weather clothing and boots and things like that. Everything else we'll cover. We'll cover your expenses whilst we're there, your food whilst we're there, your travel, everything. I'm a firm believer that our tuition fees are high enough. We don't want you to have to pay money after coming. So yeah, everything will be covered whilst you're here. And any extracurricular things that we do are part of the MSc, then we'll cover that too. The only things we won't cover are things like society trips. If you go on a EAGE or an SEG or an AAPG trip for a weekend field trip somewhere, then you'll have to cover that yourself. But anything that's essential to the MSc, we will cover as part of the tuition fees. And I mean, that's not going to change. We're not going to introduce any hidden costs or anything like that. Next question, are there any offshore geophysics related modules in the course? Not specifically offshore geophysics, but we process a lot of offshore data. So the seismic reflection course that I run, it's a marine data set that we'll process from, where is it from? We've got a New Zealand data set that we use and a Venezuelan data set. Quite a lot of people will do projects on offshore data or satellite data. We do cover elements of offshore geophysics in the environmental parts of the course, but we don't specifically have an offshore geophysics module yet. Maybe that's something for the future. How many hours of independent study are typically expected for this course? That's a difficult question. There is a set amount of hours you're supposed to spend per module. So we split each course in each subject area into modules, and there are 15 credits in our credit system. And for that, we expect around about 100 to 150 hours, which means that half of that is usually face-to-face time, or quite often we have flipped learning where we'll have a video where you'll watch that, and then we'll have a session where we'll discuss elements of the video, the lecture. Sometimes it will be face-to-face practical work where you'll be working through some data or some things like that. So you're not timetabled 9 to 5 every day. You'll have some free time. Typically during the term for my modules, we'll do say 9:30 till 12, 2 till 4. So lectures in the morning, practicals in the afternoon. And then I always let people have Wednesday off to work on some things and so on. We set all our deadlines not on weekends and things like that. So we're very much promoting people to have lives around their study. So yeah, it depends really on how much time you want to spend on it, and how familiar you are with the subject matter before. So sometimes people come into a subject which is completely new, which is fine. And sometimes people have a lot of experience and they don't need to spend so much time. So typically 100 to 150 hours per module, but it will vary depending on how well you want to do in the module and how experienced you are in the module itself. I hope that is a good answer to that question. Next question. If you've worked on a specific industry but want to shift career focus, what would the general pathway be best, or should we go with one of the specialized pathways? That's a good question. So we've had people, based on from people coming in last year, we had some people going on the energy pathway that wanted to shift careers into energy, or various different parts of energy. We haven't had people going the other way yet in terms of they worked in the energy industry and want to go into broader. To be honest, what we've done to bridge that gap is to allow people access to the materials from both pathways. So for instance, if you did the energy pathway and wanted to really focus on carbon sequestration and CCS, but you were interested in some of the other aspects that you would miss, like the seismology, then we would let you have access to the materials. You don't have to pass the courses, but then you would have access to those materials in advance, and so you'd be able to look at both of those aspects. If there was something specifically you were interested in, then we would do our best to make sure that you could do a module in that timetable, as long as the timetable will allow it. So it's difficult for me to answer that. It depends on which industry you're thinking about. For the 10 years that we ran one MSc in geophysics without our pathways, we used to say, and we still say, is that this was a good springboard to any industry. And really, if you do all the essential elements of the geophysics program as we've designed it, then you can specialize both by talking to mentors and people that come in to share their knowledge with you, but also in the project in the summer. So if you got the good grounding in a lot of areas, and then you could say, right, I really want to do, I don't know, electromagnetics in the desert or whatever, then you could focus on that in terms of your project. And that's what a lot of people who might want to go on to do research have done. They've specialized in a 4-month project, get an idea of that area, that kind of research area, and then they've used that to join PhD programs and so on. So I don't know if I can answer the question specifically, but hopefully that gives a bit of food for thought for that. Where recent graduates have gone on to work, I can't give you specific details of exactly which companies, because then you might be able to work out who I'm talking about. From a data protection perspective, I don't think I can share exactly where. But as you probably will know, Aberdeen has a very, very broad and deep energy industry. So major multinationals in hydrocarbon exploration, which still happens. Wind is a big play at the moment. A lot of contractors for looking at high resolution seismics for wind. We've had quite a few people go into that sector recently. But a lot of the jobs we see, people are going into contracted jobs, but research type jobs. So looking at the next sort of technological advances that will make some of these emerging renewable technologies more feasible for less capital, basically, so cheaper. So we've had people go to, as I said, utility surveying, utility mapping. We've had people go to environmental consultancy companies. I'm trying to think of who else we had last year. So if you did a list of geophysics companies in the UK and abroad, yeah, those are all of the companies that we have had people go to. And now, because we've been running 10 years, we've had people that have moved between geophysics companies outside, so and are now quite senior in those companies. Okay. Great question. So, what's the balance between theory and practical skills taught? It varies between module, but I would say about 50-50. So, you need that theory and that back. So, when I would say theory, I wouldn't say all of it is deriving equations. So, we do some deriving equations and some background theory, because at the end of the day, we are a branch of physics. So, we need to understand why we get the relationships that we do. But what I would say is the building skills, building knowledge is about 50% of the time, and about 50% of the time is then applying it on real world problems. So real life problems, real data. Yeah, so I would say about 50-50 in terms of theory and practical skills. Of course, if you're in the field, then that's more practical skills based. But before you get to the field, you need to understand the types of techniques that we're using. And we have a large equipment facility here where we have about nearly £500,000 worth of geophysical equipment, so ground penetrating radar, seismic acquisition equipment. We have magnetometers, we have GPS, we have seismometers. So yeah, using those in the field will be very practical skills. And computing wise, you will have your own computer in our home room. You stay in one room. It's your room. It's the MSc. We come to you to teach. There's a fridge in there. There's you all have your own lockers and things like that in there. And so yeah, it's a kind of a community base. It's a kind of cohort base where you can develop skills which are not the geophysics skills, the soft skills, communication, that kind of thing. What's living in Aberdeen like? It's wonderful. Why would it? No, I've been here for 12 years in Aberdeen, and I have to say I've not once thought about leaving. It's it surprised me when I first came. There was a lot of negativity about living in Aberdeen. It's grey, it's dark, it's that kind of thing. It's not like that at all. So last night it got dark at 11 p.m. and I was sitting outside my back of my garden, having a cup of tea, watching the sun going down at 11 p.m. So yeah, it's spectacular. The coastline is amazing. The city is not huge. It's accessible. It's got everything that you need. The beach is really nice. Walking along the beachfront is lovely. You can see dolphins in the harbour most days. You can see seals up the coast in Balmedy. If you want to go for a little bus ride, there's castles everywhere. You can go and see the king sometimes in Balmoral when he's there. So yeah, if you like the outdoors, if you like walking around this scenery, mountains, that kind of thing, it's great. If you don't like that, it's good too. The city's got great museums, a great art gallery, lots of things on in the museums and the city centre. So yeah, shopping centres and that kind of thing. So it's not a big city. It's not like Edinburgh, Glasgow, London type thing. It's a small city. But the real thing which is unusual is that the harbour is right in the middle of the city. So you'll see the seismic vessels coming in, and you'll see the service vessels, and you'll see the helicopters going over. So you can see that it's a real active industrial bustling city. So yeah, it's a nice city. And the question I get asked most by students coming in is how cold is it? And it'll be sub-zero and probably snowing at some parts of the winter, I'll be honest. So in the winter, it's a bit darker. It's not light so much as it is now, obviously. But for 2 or 3 weeks of the year, it'll be sub-zero degrees C. It'll be chilly. It is Scotland after all. It doesn't rain all the time. It's actually one of the driest cities in the UK because most of the rain falls on the mountains to our west. Yeah, it's in the summer you're getting up to 16 to 20 degrees C, so not very hot, and just about sub-zero in the winter. So yeah, it's a great city to live in. It's very difficult to be in the city and not bump into another geoscientist. It's a very high ratio of geoscientists in the city. So you never know. You might be in a lift or you might be in a coffee place or whatever. You'll hear conversations that oh, that's interesting. I've been learning about that, and those people are talking about it. So yeah, it's a very geoscience positive city. Yeah, thanks for that. That's a good question. So I think that's the question I get asked the most for prospective students, and that is how are the opportunities for sponsorship jobs for international students? So I know in the US and in many other countries, then students can come to universities, and the university will employ them for part of the time. Unfortunately, we don't have that system in the UK, and certainly not in our university. So there's no opportunity for UK or international students to come as students and then work, have a scholarship or a sponsorship or an RA position or something like that. We just don't have that. And actually, even if we did, it wouldn't really work because the MSc is a 1 year MSc. You're going to be spending 100% of your time, 9 to 5 time, during the week doing the MSc. So you won't really have time to work in any other job. The university allows you up to 20 hours of casual work as your MSc, and many of our students will have a casual work outside of the MSc, and that's great too for some extra money. But actually, yeah, there's no system. We don't have a system where we can work to help fund the tuition fees, something like that. It just doesn't exist, and I don't think it exists any UK university currently. So we're not uncommon in that respect. I'm sorry to say that, but that's the way that it is. But for scholarships, we do have a university page that lists all of our scholarships that we currently have. On our website, we'll list any other scholarships. If you're uncertain or not sure where you should go to find scholarships from home, if you're not from the UK, then by all means send me an email or send a message via the website, and we'll suggest places, because we know where people have got scholarships previously in previous years, and very often that's the most up-to-date information that we have, and we can share that with you, because I know that scholarship situations in every country changes from year to year. So yeah, if you need some guidance or some help to apply for scholarships from your home countries, then please let me know. And then I include the UK to that because I know there's scholarships here too. Oh, for the final research project, what organizations have students worked with at the past? So for this year, we're working with the British Antarctic Survey. We've got a great seismology data set on a glacier that they acquired a couple of months ago. So we're working in partnership with them. We have 3 or 4 companies in Aberdeen that are working on various aspects of geophysics, but I'm not allowed to talk about them because they're protected in terms of confidentiality. We have projects. I'm trying to think in the past. We've had projects from RSK because I've mentioned them already. So if they have, for the companies that give scholarships, normally they will offer either some data, a project, or actually mentor the whole project. And for every MSc project, what we do is you'll have either, if it's an academic project, like a project I've suggested, if that's the case, then you do that project, you will have an industry mentor who will be somebody who's not associated with your project, but there'll be somebody from industry outside the university who will mentor you every few weeks through your project. And you can talk to them about how your project's going and other aspects of the MSc. And then obviously day-to-day or week-to-week project stuff we'll talk about. So you'll interact with them as well. I'm trying to think of where else we've got. So some companies send us data. Some companies and associations send us ideas, and then we act on those. We've got consultancy companies that have sent us information and data. And normally what we do is we gather all of the project ideas and data and whatever across geophysics, but across, we got a petroleum geoscience course, a sustainable energy geoscience course as well. We'll gather all of those and we think, well, that project sounds a bit like a project for this person or that person, or a project that's a bit more of a geophysics, or maybe we could split this into two projects, and one person could do the interpretation side of it and one person could do maybe the petrophysics side of something, things like that, or somebody else. We've worked with, we had the Turkish ministry used to send us a lot of their airborne gravity and magnetic data. We've got a long-term partnership with Aberdeen Minerals, who are drilling currently just north of Aberdeen for ultra basic rocks, copper and nickel. And so they're very keen on doing projects, and they've submitted projects every year. We've had the EAGE have suggested projects because they have a very vibrant local chapter, and we have a student chapter as well of the EAGE, which, if you join us, we'll promote you to get involved with if you're interested in society work. So yeah, lots and lots of different companies. Normally in January, we send out a number of different emails, so probably about 200 to 300 people and institutions about projects, and then we come back with ideas, and then we follow those up across our programs. And then at the end of it, we'll invite all of those people back for the final presentation, which will be mid-August this year. Hope that answered your question. What skills are needed to get into seismic data processing industries? Will a summer project in seismic help? I would say yes. It would certainly help if it was a project that was proposed by a company that is hiring. And at the moment, a lot of companies are hiring in seismic data processing. So we have a partnership with Shearwater. So they have a Reveal seismic processing software. They co-developed a lot of the training materials that we use, and they provide us with licenses. And so we use them. We also have the Halliburton SciSpace or Promax software that we've run projects on before, and I do some teaching with that. And we've shot our own data, actually. So some of the data I shot last year in Inverness, we did a geothermal project with the students in Inverness. We shot our own data, and then one of the students processed the seismic data from that. So it depends on what kind of data processing you might be interested in. The other thing that we do is a lot of work on acquisition. So acquisition design. Currently, there's a big research area in taking older vintage seismic data and reprocessing it for high resolution studies, sort of wind farm installations, that kind of thing. And part of that comes around to how the data were acquired, what were the acquisition parameters. So we've got MESA, we've got NORSAR, so we do practicals with that about how to design surveys. So yes, seismic data processing, definitely the time series to know how to look at your seismic data in terms of the time series and the frequency domain, and then the processing course that I teach. But then a summer project in processing would help as well. So a few years ago, we had a project from BP, and they had a 3D cube that they wanted to reprocess because they wanted to use it for amplitude versus offset, or AVO, which meant they had to preserve all the amplitude. So they didn't get rid of all the amplitude information. We don't have the capabilities to 3D process in 4 months a cube. So what we did, we had a student project that picked out two, cross line and an inline, and processed those, and then sent it back to BP. They were very happy, and then they did the full processing themselves afterwards. So things like that. If there's any other questions, I'm happy to stay on until the hour. If there's anything that comes up that you haven't asked yet, any aspect of joining us, you definitely won't be the first person to have asked a question. We graduating the students that we've graduated, we stay in contact with them via the LinkedIn page and through references. So we write a lot of references for people when they get jobs and when they change jobs. And for me, that's taking the greatest pleasure when somebody's got a job and they come back and they're really excited and they're ready to start their job, and then seeing how people develop after the MSc is really rewarding for us. So yeah, we hope that the MS coming here is definitely the start of your journey into something else, as opposed to come and do an MSc and then stop geophysics and do something else. Question: are there breaks between the semester? Yes. So the term normally starts in mid September and then finishes mid-December. And then there's usually about a month break when us in the UK will have our Christmas holidays. So you will do any exams or tests or final assessment by the end of that term, so before Christmas. So you don't have to revise all over the break. And then we come back mid-January and then start the second semester. Then there's usually a short break, maybe a week or two, depending on when Easter falls. There's an Easter holiday in April, end of March, April time usually. Depending on when that is, because it changes every year, we try to make sure that you have a break then, not to go straight into projects. We also make sure that there's no teaching or no expectations of you the week before you might have any exams or whatever. So you have a clear week to make sure that you can revise and put your full energy into exams. So yeah, there is a month in the longest period in the month in December. Well, I hope I've answered all your questions. I hope I've given a little bit more perspective on the MSc. I hope that you're still considering coming to join us. We'd be very happy if you are. If there's anything else that you would like us to help you with, there's a couple of minutes to ask questions now. Otherwise, email either myself directly or there's a contact link via the webpage. We'd very much like to see you in Aberdeen. We'd love to welcome you in September. If there's anything that we can do to help you make that happen, then just let us know and we'll by all means do our best to make sure that can happen. There are some materials on the website which are pre-sessional materials. So there's a maths test and some work through yourself maths. There's a reading list as well. And we're just about to put some background earth science, geology materials for people that might want to do some pre-video watching or some pre-work to make sure that their math skills or their geology skills or an awareness are topped up maybe or primed before they start. Not essential, but there some people like to get started a bit earlier. So yeah, keep checking the LinkedIn page if you're not following us already. We'll be posting lots of things on there. So yeah, there's lots of ways of getting in contact with us if we can help with anything. And if you like what you see, and we hope you do, then we'll be very happy to welcome you in September.